What's up, you guys? It's Sarah at carnivore.yogi on Instagram. Thank you so much for coming on to my YouTube channel. Please hit subscribe while you're here. So in this video, I am going to talk about losing your cycle on carnivore or keto. I'm going to talk about my personal experience with that. I've been carnivore for the last 17 months, largely. And I'm going to talk about losing my cycle, how I got it back. I'm going to talk about some lab testing that I did here at home in order to test my own fertility, ovarian reserve, hormone levels, and I'm going to talk about some problems that I see out there in the community with women losing their cycle, and I'm going to talk about how I got my cycle back in this video. So you're going to want to watch the whole thing. So as I always say in every video, I'm not a doctor, nutritionist, any of those things. I am literally just giving you guys my experience. I also do work with a coach, a Stephanie Keto person who has worked with over 3,000 people. A lot of them have been women. A lot of those women have lost their cycles. And I think, again, it is a topic that really needs to be brought out in the open. We need to drop the shame around it and talk about it, because it is an important marker of health. If you're not having a cycle, if you're not ovulating, that's a sign that your body is in some sort of distress, that your body has shut down that reproductive system in order to prioritize keeping you alive. Your body's going to keep you alive to breathe, to do these other vital functions instead of keeping those reproductive organs going. So if you lose your cycle, that's a sign that something is literally not right with you. So my experience here, I started carnivore over 17 months ago, and the first month lost my cycle. It did not come on time. And I think that there is a little stress that happens when you do a carnivore keto diet, especially if you're coming from standard American like I did. I just kind of jumped right in, which to my detriment, I'm kind of a or benefit, an all or nothing person. And so that's just what I did. I do not recommend that. But my body was experiencing kind of like this shock of like, what are you doing? And so I didn't get my cycle. It did return the following month and the following month. So it did come back. I was also eating enough, enough calories for my body. But then I started fasting. Now I have a whole video about my thoughts and experience on fasting. To kind of sum it up in this video, fasting is a stress on your body, and most of the testing and studies that have been done regarding fasting have been done on postmenopausal women and men. Okay, so there haven't been a ton of studies that show benefit to a woman of reproductive age in fasting. They are just not out there. Those studies do not exist. Now, I think that they're beginning to study those more and more, but the data that we have right now doesn't really show a great benefit to a woman in reproductive age doing any kind of fasting. I'm talking intermittent as well. So when that started happening, I was like, okay, now something's really off. Something's really off here. I should be having a monthly cycle. I never really missed my cycle before. And here's the thing, I'm going to sidetrack a little bit. When I started putting these videos out about saying how I lost my cycle, I had a lot of women messaging me saying, well, I started menopause at your age. You're maybe going through early menopause. Well, that's not normal, okay? That's not normal. And I'm not criticizing any woman who's gone through menopause early. I don't know your health history. I don't know your life history, your stresses, any serious illnesses you've had. But to go through menopause at 40 is a little bit too young. So some testing that I did on myself to make sure I was not menopausal was number one, an ovarian reserve test. Now I use this company, Let's Get Checked. I'll put a link below this video in the information section in case you want to test this out for yourself. But it's very easy. They send the box to your house. You test yourself and drop it off at a UPS or just drop it in the mail. So right now especially, no big deal. Just send off the test and check. I had plenty of eggs left, so I did that ovarian reserve test. I also tested my progesterone levels, because that's the number one thing here with your cycle being gone, is that your progesterone is low and you have too much estrogen. Estrogen dominance is a big problem in our society with men too. So I tested my progesterone again with Let's Get Checked. Now with progesterone, you want to test on day 19, 20, or 21. Those 3 days are going to be your optimal. And Let's Get Checked actually has, and that's for someone with a 28-day cycle. So Let's Get Checked actually has a little thing when you're ordering that test, the progesterone test, and it will ask you how many days your cycle is, and then it will give you the best days for you to test to see, like, do I have low progesterone? Do I still have eggs? They also have a fertility test to see if you're fertile, which I will also link below. Full disclosure, I did not do that one. What I did was by these guys, early ovulation kit test. And on my days of when I was supposed to be ovulating, I would do a little pee test. Now it'll give you 2 lines if you're ovulating, 1 line if you're not ovulating. I'll link below an ovulation tester kit also, in case that's something you guys want to try out. Because some people do have a cycle, but they're not actually ovulating. So it's important that you're actually ovulating when you're having that cycle. So those are some tests you can do. I'm going to talk a little bit more about getting my cycle back in a minute here. But okay, so too much fasting. I think that's what happened for me in combination with some other things that made that cycle completely go away. So in order for me to get my cycle back, I had to completely stop fasting, eat as soon as I woke up, like within 30 minutes of waking, eat those 3 meals per day. Okay, so that's the first thing that I think is happening a lot in our community, is that women are doing too much of this fasting. They're not eating till 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Boom, their body is stressed out, and there goes the cycle, okay? Number 2, I think that people can over-exercise and overdo it as well, because that's another stress on the body. So if you're going out doing these CrossFit workouts, especially if you did that before and now you've gone carnivore keto and you're still doing the same workouts, you haven't given your body that time to adjust, that could also be causing you to lose your cycle. There's this thing called pregnenolone steal. Now this is something that Stephanie has taught me about extensively, where your adrenals will get tapped out. And this could happen from exercise. It could happen from stress, mental stress, which is a big issue. It can happen from physical stress, from food allergies, over-exercising, over-fasting. But essentially what happens here is the adrenal glands, they steal, it's called pregnenolone steal. They steal from your sex hormones so that you do experience that major drop in progesterone, testosterone. You start having issues with your hormones because those adrenals are taking all the hormones, essentially, in a non-scientific explanation, from your adrenals. The sex hormones are being depleted. So that's something to look into, is that pregnenolone steal. I think it's important to take that into factor as well. So too much fasting, under eating, over exercising, those things can come into play. And here's the other thing for me that I've had to do, is really eat a lot of fat. And I think that when I say a lot of fat, people don't really understand like what that means. Like I eat a lot of fat, like 200 grams, more than 200 grams per day. Like I've had to bump it up closer to like 260, 270. Like I've had to really bump up that fat. And here's the thing with carnivore and keto, I don't think a lot of people are willing to eat that much fat. And this is something I'm going to say that's probably going to be a bit controversial. If you're not willing to eat that much fat, you might as well just go eat carbs, because here is how this is my experience. You have to be, for me, I've had to either be in ketosis or glucose. I can't be in the middle. For me, I cannot be in the middle. It is too much stress on my body. It wrecks my hormones. It makes me not have a cycle. It interrupts my sleep. I think it wears on the thyroid gland. Thyroid health is also extremely important here. And these diets, these ways of eating, carnivore, keto, can exacerbate your thyroid if you're not doing it optimally for you. So optimally for me means I have to balance my electrolytes, I have to eat enough fat, I have to get my sleep, I have to keep my stress low, okay? Or I should just go out and eat carbs, and I still have to worry about stress and all those other things. Now my body doesn't react well to carbs, I don't feel good on carbs, I'm not mentally clear, so I really don't want to go the route of carbs, okay? But you have to eat enough fat. And for me, when I was eating 2 pounds of meat, I did a whole video on 2 pounds of meat per day, why I'm not doing that anymore. I was kind of in the middle. Like I wasn't in ketosis and I wasn't in a glucose metabolism, and I was here. And that was a great amount of stress for my body. So now that I have been under Stephanie's guidance, I mean, literally asking her questions every day, fine-tuning, tweaking, still tweaking. I'll do an update video soon about all the tweaks I'm doing and all the changes I've made, etc., etc. But since I have followed her directions, it's been almost, 10 weeks now. I've had 2 cycles that have fallen 28 day, and the little ovulation tests have come back positive 2 months in a row now. So I'm thrilled about that. But I've had to do a number of things here. Number 1, I've had to be willing to eat enough fat without and not worry about gaining weight, right? Because I still, a lot of people are like, you don't need to really lose a bunch of weight, but I would still like to lean out a bit. Okay, that's just me. I've been leaner before, I'd like to be leaner. But I'm putting that on hold right now because I've got to prioritize my hormones. I've got to prioritize my hormone health and getting my cycle and getting my ovulation back on track, getting that progesterone up. Okay, so very, very important here. I've reduced my stress. I've stopped exercising as much. I'm really, really working towards these things, and I have gotten my cycle back. It is normal. So I've stopped fasting. I've gotten my fat high enough. I'm resting more. And between those 3 things, and I balance my electrolytes, 4 things, the cycles come back normally. So the takeaway message from this, big takeaway message, everyone's going to be individual. Everyone is going to kind of, have to find their way with this. But if you've lost your cycle, do some testing. Should you still be ovulating? Do you still have eggs? Are you still fertile? All those things, and make some tweaks if necessary. So if you haven't had a cycle, you're not ovulating, you're amenorrheic, you don't have a period, it's a problem. It is a problem. There is something going on, and that is a signal, a direct signal that your body is sending you to fix it, saying, help, please give me enough food, give me enough fat, stop starving me, stop fasting me. It's too much stress on my body. And again, I'm not totally, anti this, that, or the other. I know there's value in those things of fasting, but for me, there was no value in it. For me, it was diminishing returns. It was negative. It didn't help. So I hope this video was helpful, guys. I want to start a conversation about this. So if you have lost your cycle, please comment below. If you have gotten your cycle back, would love to hear from you of some ways that you've gotten it back. But I want to continue this conversation and open up a dialogue here in the carnivore space, the keto space, and really talk about this, because I think we need to take the shame away from talking about our cycles, our periods. It's 2020, but I think still a lot of people are afraid to talk about these topics for whatever reason. So I'm not going to get into all that in this video, but again, I hope this was helpful. Please subscribe, please share, and let me know in the comments what problems you have had with your cycle, if any, or if you've gotten it back. Okay? Hope you guys have a great day. Thank you for watching.